Almost 20 years later, Prince William and Prince Harry opening up, speaking very candidly in a new documentary about what it was like.
Princess Diana's secret diary has sent shockwaves across the world, exposing chilling truths that even her beloved sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, never imagined. Hidden for decades, the diary reveals a side of Diana filled with pain, betrayal, and fears that go beyond the fairy tale image. From her struggles with royal life to cryptic warnings about her safety, these entries uncover the dark reality behind palace walls. What did Diana know, and why did she keep it hidden? Princess Diana's early life. Have you ever wondered what shaped the iconic Princess Diana before she became the people's princess? What moments in her childhood foretold the compassion and strength that would captivate the world? Born on July 1, 1961, in Park House on the Sandringham Estate in Norfolk, Diana Frances Spencer grew up in a world steeped in privilege and tradition. However, behind the grandeur, her early life was far from the fairy tale many imagine. She was the fourth of 5 children to John Spencer, Viscount Althorp, and Frances Roche, both of noble lineage. Her aristocratic background gave her a connection to the royal family from birth, but her life wasn't without struggles. Diana's childhood was marked by upheaval. Her parents divorced when she was just 7 years old, an event that deeply affected her. She and her siblings stayed with their father at Althorp House while their mother moved away. This separation left a void in Diana's life, planting the seeds of empathy that later defined her work with vulnerable communities. At school, Diana was known for her shy demeanor but also for her love of music, dance, and helping others. She attended several boarding schools, including Westheath Girls' School in Kent, where she was not the brightest student academically, but excelled in social connections and extracurricular activities. She later described herself as thick as a plank, but her emotional intelligence and ability to connect with people were unmatched. By her late teens, Diana moved to London and worked a variety of jobs, including as a nanny and kindergarten assistant. Despite her aristocratic background, these experiences grounded her, giving her a sense of normalcy. It was during this time that she crossed paths with Prince Charles, setting the stage for a love story that would enthrall the world. Diana's early life was a mix of privilege and challenges, shaping her into the empathetic and resilient woman we remember today. From a little girl in the English countryside to the future Princess of Wales, every twist and turn played a role in defining her legacy. What lessons did Diana's childhood teach her that influenced her royal journey? Could these formative years explain her unique ability to connect with people worldwide? Her story holds the answers. Diana's struggles with royal expectations. When Diana Spencer married Prince Charles in 1981, she became a symbol of grace, beauty, and royalty. But beneath the glittering surface, she faced intense pressure from the very institution that made her a princess. From the moment she stepped into her role as the Princess of Wales, Diana was expected to fit into a mold that didn't leave room for her own identity. What was it like for her to navigate a life under constant scrutiny, where every move was analyzed by the public and the press? Royal life was about tradition, decorum, and maintaining the dignity of the monarchy. As a new member of the royal family, Diana was expected to act with poise, adhere to strict protocols, and often suppress her personal desires. She had to navigate a life that often felt disconnected from her own. One of the greatest challenges Diana faced was the lack of personal freedom. As a royal, she was often seen but rarely heard, and her choices were constantly under scrutiny. Diana was expected to support causes, attend endless royal engagements, and always put on a smile. However, her own emotional struggles, dealing with bulimia, depression, and the breakdown of her marriage to Prince Charles, were often overlooked. The world saw a fairy tale princess, but behind closed doors, Diana was a young woman longing for connection and freedom from the stifling royal expectations. Perhaps the most heart-wrenching part of Diana's struggle was the lack of support from the royal family itself. Although she was married to the heir to the throne, Diana often felt isolated and misunderstood. There were moments when she was left to deal with her emotional struggles alone, with little understanding from those around her. She was expected to maintain a perfect image for the public, even when her own world was falling apart. How did Diana's personal struggles influence the way she later became a voice for the voiceless? Could the intense pressures she faced behind palace walls explain her drive to change the world outside? Diana's story is a testament to the hidden cost of fame and the often overlooked battles that royalty faces in private. Her struggles remind us that even the most famous figures have their own battles to fight. Emotional vulnerability. Diana's emotional vulnerability is the price she paid for marrying into royalty. After her grand wedding to Prince Charles in 1981, the world celebrated what appeared to be a dream come true. But behind the glittering tiara and public adoration, Diana faced deep personal struggles that would come to define her life. The early days of her marriage were filled with hope, but cracks appeared quickly. Diana was just 20 years old when she married Charles, and the pressures of royal life overwhelmed her. From the start, Diana felt isolated and unsupported. She found herself thrust into the public eye, expected to uphold the traditions of the monarchy, while grappling with her own insecurities. The lack of emotional intimacy in her relationship with Charles only worsened her feelings of loneliness. Adding to her pain was the constant presence of Camilla Parker Bowles, whom Diana knew had a close relationship with Charles. In interviews years later, Diana famously remarked, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." This betrayal deeply impacted her self-esteem and left her questioning her worth. Diana's emotional vulnerability also took a toll on her mental health. She struggled with bulimia, which she later described as a way to cope with the emotional pain she felt. The disorder began early in her marriage and persisted for years, fueled by the stress of royal life and the feeling that she could never meet the impossible standards set for her. Despite her struggles, Diana's vulnerability became a source of strength. She used her pain to connect with others, breaking royal protocol by speaking openly about her mental health. Her honesty was revolutionary, helping to destigmatize issues like eating disorders and depression. Through it all, Diana remained devoted to her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. She wanted them to experience love and warmth, something she often felt was missing in her own life. How did Diana manage to shine so brightly despite the darkness she faced behind palace doors? Was her emotional openness a strength that the royal family failed to understand? Diana's story reminds us that even in the most gilded cages, human struggles remain painfully real. The strain on her marriage. The world saw a glamorous royal couple. The truth behind their relationship was far from perfect. What caused the strain in their marriage? The pressure of being in the public eye, or was there something deeper at play? From the outside, Diana and Charles seemed like the perfect couple. They had a fairy tale wedding, and their relationship was admired by millions. But behind the walls of Buckingham Palace, the reality was very different. Diana's marriage to Charles was plagued by misunderstandings, emotional isolation, and, most heartbreakingly, infidelity. Diana, often feeling alone and unsupported, found herself caught in a relationship that was slowly falling apart. One of the major factors that contributed to the strain on their marriage was the growing distance between them. As Diana struggled with her own emotional battles, including bulimia and depression, she found that Charles was not as emotionally available as she needed him to be. His focus was often on his royal duties, and, more shockingly, on his ongoing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, which he admitted to later. This caused immense pain for Diana, who had placed her trust and love in a marriage that she soon realized wasn't built on mutual understanding and affection. Furthermore, the pressure of living up to the royal family's expectations only added to Diana's emotional burden. As a member of the royal family, she was expected to behave a certain way, maintain a picture-perfect image, and never show signs of weakness. But Diana was human. She wanted to be loved, seen, and heard. Not as a symbol of perfection, but as a woman with real feelings and emotions. Her struggle to balance her own needs with the demands of the monarchy left her feeling more isolated than ever. What if things had turned out differently? Could Diana and Charles have found happiness if they had been more open with each other? Was the pressure of royal life simply too much for their marriage to survive? The story of Diana and Charles is a reminder that even the most outwardly perfect marriages can carry heavy emotional burdens. The strain on their marriage ultimately led to a separation that would change both of their lives forever. her fear for safety. The truth about Diana's safety concerns goes much deeper than what we've been told. Throughout her life, Princess Diana was constantly under the spotlight, not only because of her royal status, but because of her humanitarian work, her marriage to Prince Charles, and her high-profile divorce. But as her fame grew, so did the dangers surrounding her. Diana herself admitted in interviews that she felt she was being watched and followed wherever she went, especially after her separation from Prince Charles. One of her biggest fears was the relentless pursuit of the paparazzi. Diana often spoke about the anxiety and fear that came with being followed, chased, and photographed by photographers at all times of the day and night. She was often followed by paparazzi cars and even had encounters where they would chase her in dangerous situations. This feeling of being constantly hunted, even in the safety of her own car, made her deeply unsettled. But what made her even more fearful was the lack of protection she received. After stepping away from the royal family, Diana was no longer under the direct protection of royal security, leaving her vulnerable to the dangers of the outside world. She was alone in dealing with her fear, and it wasn't just the press that made her anxious. Diana also felt like there were other forces following her, and she believed that certain elements within the establishment were conspiring against her. In her final days, Diana was especially vocal about her concerns. In fact, she confided to close friends and family that she was afraid for her life. She even suspected that her car crash in 1997 wasn't an accident, but a deliberate act orchestrated to silence her. Was she just paranoid, or did she truly have reason to fear for her safety? The world will never know for sure, but her tragic death left many wondering if her fears were justified. Could Diana's death have been prevented? Why didn't she get the protection she so desperately needed? These are questions that still haunt those who loved her, as well as the millions who admired her from afar. Warnings to her sons. Diana's relationship with her children was one of love, protection, and concern. But she also carried some heavy truths that she felt were important to pass on to them. Princess Diana was deeply aware of the challenges and pressures that came with being a part of the royal family. From a young age, William and Harry were thrust into the spotlight, and Diana was determined to guide them through the complexities of their royal roles. But her warnings weren't just about handling public attention. They were about something deeper, something more personal. One of the most important things Diana tried to instill in her sons was the need for independence. She was always determined that they would grow up to be strong, self-sufficient men who could think for themselves. Diana often reminded William and Harry that they needed to be their own people and not just be defined by the royal title they were born into. She worried about them losing touch with their true selves in the midst of all the royal expectations. But Diana didn't only prepare her sons for the pressures of fame. She also wanted them to be emotionally intelligent and compassionate. She often spoke to them about the importance of kindness and understanding, especially in a world that could sometimes feel cold and isolating. She was especially concerned about the harshness of the media and warned her children to be wary of how they were portrayed. She knew firsthand the toll the media could take on one's mental health, and she didn't want her sons to suffer the same way she did. As Diana's death drew closer, she became increasingly aware of the dangers she faced, and it seemed she felt the need to share her worries with William and Harry. She made sure they knew how much she loved them, and how she wanted them to always protect one another. The motherly bond they shared was incredibly strong, and her warnings were meant to shield them from the hardships of royal life and the press. What did Diana truly know that led her to issue these powerful warnings? Could her wisdom have helped prevent the media chaos that followed her death? These questions remain unanswered, but one thing is certain. Princess Diana's love for her sons and her desire to protect them will never be forgotten. Her thoughts on the media. Princess Diana's relationship with the media was complex, and she had a deep understanding of how it could both empower and destroy. From the moment Diana entered the royal spotlight, she was hounded by photographers and reporters. The media quickly fell in love with her youthful beauty, her fashion sense, and her princess charm. But what they often failed to capture was the real woman behind the facade. Diana was aware of this, and over time became increasingly frustrated with the media's portrayal of her. How did Princess Diana truly feel about the media? Did she see it coming? The relentless scrutiny and press coverage that would only grow worse over time? Despite the negative aspects of the press, Diana also understood the power of media attention. She used her fame to shine a light on causes close to her heart, from AIDS awareness to landmines. But the same media that loved her when she smiled for the camera would turn on her when she dared to show vulnerability. The relentless press coverage of her personal life, her marriage, and her struggles with mental health left Diana feeling betrayed and exploited. She often spoke about the pressures of living in the public eye, and how the constant invasion of her privacy took a toll on her mental and emotional well-being. In interviews, she expressed how she felt trapped, with no escape from the watchful eyes of the press. Diana even admitted that the paparazzi would often cross boundaries, following her every move and invading her personal moments. She once famously said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage," referring to the media's constant presence in her life. But did Diana foresee the chaos that would follow her death? Could she have predicted how her passing would fuel the very press she despised? As her life ended tragically in a car accident, chased by paparazzi, it seemed that her warnings about the dangers of the media were eerily prescient. Was the media to blame for Princess Diana's pain, and ultimately her tragic death? How much did the press contribute to the downfall of the people's princess? These questions still haunt those who loved her, and continue to fuel discussions about the ethical responsibilities of the media. Diana's relationship with the press may have been complicated, but it remains one of the most significant aspects of her legacy. Her secret humanitarian plans. Princess Diana had more humanitarian projects up her sleeve than anyone knew. Did she have a secret vision for the world that she was just starting to unveil before her untimely death? Diana was known for her charity work, but there were many hidden plans she had in mind that never came to full fruition. What were these secret projects, and how could they have changed the world? While the public mostly knew Diana for her work with HIV/AIDS awareness and her campaign to ban landmines, she had many more plans in the works. Throughout her life, she was passionate about making a difference. But behind the glamorous royal appearances, Diana had an even deeper commitment to helping others, and her plans often extended far beyond what the world knew. Diana was well aware of the power her position held, and she used it wisely to create awareness about issues that were often overlooked. She quietly worked behind the scenes, meeting with charities and planning her next steps, far removed from the spotlight. Some of her closest friends and confidants have revealed that she had a list of humanitarian projects that she had started but had not fully launched yet. Diana was intent on using her royal platform to bring attention to issues like mental health, homelessness, and the plight of refugees, issues that she felt were not getting enough recognition at the time. But was there more to it? Did Diana have a secret plan to build an empire of humanitarian work that could outlive her? Many people who knew Diana believe she was just getting started. Her life was cut short, but her dedication to others didn't stop at the charities she publicly supported. There are whispers that Diana had big plans to use her fame and influence to build organizations that would continue her work and bring change for generations to come. What were the secret plans that Princess Diana had in mind? Could her unexpected death have left the world without knowing the full extent of her ambitions to help those in need? It's clear that Princess Diana was a true humanitarian at heart, but the depth of her unspoken plans leaves many wondering what could have been. Would she have turned her passion into a worldwide movement? We may never fully know, but Diana's legacy lives on through the causes she championed, leaving us to ask, what would Princess Diana have done next? Belief in conspiracies. For years, people have questioned the official story, sparking countless conspiracy theories. What's the real story behind Diana's death? Are we missing something big? Diana's passing in 1997 was a worldwide tragedy, and the circumstances surrounding her death left many with unanswered questions. On August 31st, 1997, Diana died in a car crash in Paris while trying to escape the relentless paparazzi. However, as the years went by, more and more conspiracy theories began to circulate. Could her death have been planned? Was it truly an accident, or was something more sinister at play? One of the most talked about conspiracy theories is that Diana's death was orchestrated by the royal family or the British government. Some believe that Diana's increasing influence and her separation from Prince Charles made her a threat to the monarchy, leading to a secret plan to silence her. The theory became more prominent as it was revealed that Diana had been in a relationship with Dodi Fayed, whose father, Mohammed Al Fayed, was a vocal critic of the British royal family. Could these powerful figures have played a role in her tragic end? Another theory involves the paparazzi, who were constantly hounding Diana in her final years. Did their reckless pursuit contribute to her death, or was it simply an accident? Some have argued that the paparazzi's relentless chase pushed Diana into a dangerous situation that ultimately led to the crash. Was her death just a tragic consequence of their invasion of privacy, or did the press play a larger role? The media's influence on public perception also cannot be overlooked. Diana's story was a global sensation, and her every move was scrutinized. Could the media have shaped the narrative in a way that fueled conspiracy theories, leaving us to question everything? Did they hide certain truths, or distort the events leading up to the accident? With all the conflicting theories and suspicions, the question remains: what really happened to Princess Diana? The more we try to uncover the truth, the deeper the mystery seems to become. Could we ever know the full story, or is it just too complex to unravel? Diana's legacy is shrouded in both love and suspicion, and it leaves us wondering, was it really an accident, or is there something more to the story? Love and legacy for her sons. Her love shaped William and Harry into the men they are today. Diana's influence on her sons is immeasurable, and her legacy continues to guide them, even years after her passing. Diana was not just a princess, but a mother who adored her children. She was determined to give William and Harry a childhood filled with love and compassion, far from the traditional royal expectations. Diana made sure to expose them to real-world experiences, far from the palace walls. She took them to homeless shelters, hospitals, and even fast food restaurants, ensuring they understood the struggles of everyday people. These experiences shaped their characters and helped them grow into empathetic men who cared deeply for others. Her love for her sons was unconditional, and her dedication to their well-being was unwavering. She ensured they had emotional support, especially through the turbulent times in the royal spotlight. Despite the challenges of being in the public eye, Diana always made sure her sons felt safe and loved. But her legacy didn't end with her death. Both William and Harry have carried on her charitable work, continuing to support causes that were dear to their mother's heart. William, for example, has dedicated himself to supporting the homeless through his work with Centerpoint, a charity Diana introduced him to when he was young. Harry has been an advocate for mental health, inspired by his mother's openness about her own struggles. What would Diana think about how her sons are raising their own families? Both William and Harry have spoken about how her example of love and kindness shaped their own parenting styles. William and his wife, Kate, prioritize normality and empathy as they raise their children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Similarly, Harry, with his wife Meghan Markle, works hard to protect their children from the media spotlight, just as Diana once tried to shield them. In the end, Princess Diana's love for her sons is still felt in their everyday actions. Her legacy is alive in their work, their families, and the values they hold dear. Even though Diana is no longer with them, her spirit lives on in the lives of her children. Her love truly shaped their world, and continues to do so today.